PHNX Coyotes podcast, brought to you by the one and only DraftKings Sportsbook app, America's top-rated sportsbook app. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and leave us a 5-star review. I'm Leah Merrill here with Craig Morgan and Steve Peters as always, and we are thrilled to be joined by Arizona Coyotes skill development coach Nathaniel Brooks. Nathaniel, welcome to the PHNX Coyotes podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Nathaniel, I wanted to ask, I know that we've already established this off the year that you've returned back home, and that was a wise choice, obviously, given the heat here in Arizona. I was going to ask you about that, but we already know that you're a very intelligent man before we even start this interview. But if you could recount for us, what has this past week been like for you, in this new role, and when did you have a sense that this role was a possibility?
So the past week, it was a bit of a whirlwind. Everything happened fast. Kind of thrown into development camp at the last minute, but my experience last year definitely helped me through this year, and to have a bigger role was very exciting, and get an opportunity to work with some great people from the upper management through the coaches and the players that we have. It was amazing.
It's not hard to figure out how a guy who's born in Richmond Hill starts playing hockey. It's just outside Toronto. It's produced some pretty big names, including Connor McDavid. I won't run through the entire list. It's also given us general manager Bill Armstrong with the Coyotes. I'm going to ask you in a little bit if you guys have compared notes on the neighborhood, but if you could take us through your hockey origin story. Don't know a lot about that, how it happened for you, what it looked like when you were a kid.
So I always wanted to play hockey as a little kid, and on my dad's side, hockey kind of ran in the blood. We're originally from Nova Scotia, and I have, ancestors who played in the Negro Hockey League. So being part of that family, hockey, it was always going to be a part of my life. And, I got my first pair of skates when I was 4 years old and started playing house league in Richmond Hill, and, came through the ranks, and actually never played in Richmond Hill. When it came time to play rep hockey, I was let go. And I ended up going to the famous GTHL and grew up playing there for the Toronto Junior Canadians and the Young Nats. And, the rest is kind of history.
What did you do in the gap between the end of your playing days and the start of your coaching career?
So my wife and I, we were actually having a baby in that gap, which is why, I decided to step back from playing and focusing on, building a life with my family. But I actually worked at a company called Yotes, and what they do is they install all the lines and the white ice paint, and they kind of have a bit of a monopoly on that market. They do all the NHL teams. So I was actually an ice installer. I know it's not fancy or flashy, but that's what I did for a little bit. And in that time I got into coaching. I mean, I've been coaching in player development and hockey schools since I was 15, 16 years old, but that's where I really found my niche for coaching. I actually started out with a single A team here in the city, and every year built up and got into Ryerson pretty early on and worked my way up there. And it's brought me here with you guys.
Nathaniel, can you give us a quick recap of last year's development camp when you get the call from the Arizona Coyotes management, and what that process was like to get you here the first time?
So the first time, Kwame Mason reached out to me and said, hey, I want to come and I want to take some video of you on the ice with your Ryerson guys, with some of your minor hockey guys, but I can't tell you why, right? And I said, okay, I have a day that's pretty busy. You can come and join. And we went through the whole day, and it was like from morning to the evening, and we were trying to find somewhere quiet in the arena to do this interview. And I was actually getting, we laugh about it now, but I was actually getting a little bit annoyed because I just wanted to go home, right?
Yeah.
And we finally found a quiet space in a gym upstairs at Chesswood Arena. And, Kwame ran me through some questions. And at the end, he handed me an iPad. And on the iPad, it was Bill, inviting me as a guest coach. So it was a pretty emotional moment. I'm somebody who, didn't get to play in the NHL, but have been working towards kind of the NHL dream as a coach. And just to get, that little tiny opportunity to spend 6 days, at the level was so amazing. And I'll never forget that day.
I wanted to back up to your playing career a little bit. We skipped over that a little bit, but I know you played in both the OHL and you got a chance to play in the USHL in my hometown of Chicago for the Steel. I'm wondering, first of all, how that happened with the Steel in particular. How did you end up in the USHL, and what was that whole experience like when the league was really not like what it is now?
Right. Well, first thing I'll say is, it just wasn't as well known as it is now. It was a great league. But how I ended up in both leagues, so I got drafted a little bit later in the OHL and ended up playing Tier 2 Junior A for the Markham Waxers. And I spent 2 years there and ended up committing to UMass Amherst. And when I committed to UMass Amherst, I saw his name in the questions he sent me earlier, but Will Nickel came to pay me a visit. And he wanted me to come down to Chicago to the USHL to play for him. We had a great meeting. I went down there. I didn't spend the whole season there. It's actually, one of the biggest learning lessons in the USHL because, like you mentioned at the time, it was a bit of an unknown entity, especially to the guys from Canada and Ontario. And I got there, and I can honestly say, I didn't live up to expectations, and there were certain things that Will wanted of me that I didn't deliver. And, I've never had an opportunity to thank him for that because I learned a lot in that situation and it's brought more to me as a coach. But that's how I ended up playing in the USHL and the OHL, because when I came back, I decided that I wanted to go to the OHL and ended up going back and ended up on the Oshawa Generals, not the team that drafted me, and had an opportunity to play with John Tavares and Cal Clutterbuck and guys like that. But the USHL, it's a fantastic league. So many pros are developed there. I honestly believe, I played in the OHL and the USHL, and, there really isn't much difference between the two leagues. The only thing you might not have in the USHL is, the Drew Doughties and the Bobby Ryans who are drafted and signed playing in the league at the time. That's the biggest difference between the two. But what a great league, and it was a great experience.
I'm going to annoy my host by staying with Chicago for a little bit here. Were you guys playing out of Bensonville at the time, the old Blackhawk training facility?
We were,
Okay.
and I lived in Orland Park. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Sound right to you? Yeah,
Yep,
I lived in Orland
area.
Park, and it was about an hour drive to the rink every day. But it was good. It was great. It was like, I think at the time it was the Blackhawks practice facility, and like I said, Will and the people in Chicago treated me so well, and I learned a ton there. So if he hears this, it's my opportunity to say thank you.
One more Chicago question, Nathaniel, and they already know what's coming probably. Did you have a chance to try Chicago hot dogs while you were in Chicago? And did you learn about the cardinal sin of putting ketchup on a hot dog in Chicago?
Well, if it's a cardinal sin, I don't put ketchup on my hot dogs anyways. But I can't remember if I tried hot dogs. I'm sure I did. I feel like in the USHL, the bus trips were so long. All we did, we were on the road eating, East Side Mario's along the highway. So,
yeah. I grew up on East Side Mario's.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm from Toronto, so
okay.
Yeah, so I know a lot of the local spots. But I wanted to ask you because you just talked about some of the non-traditional routes you went in your playing days, and you also went the Canadian University route, which a lot of our American audiences aren't as familiar with Canadian University. Why did you choose that path? And, what can you tell everybody about what that path has to offer as opposed to, American University or just sticking with it?
Well, actually, so you guys know, and the audience can maybe learn, when you play in the Canadian Hockey League, whether it's the Quebec League, the Western League, or the OHL, you sign and you have your school paid for as well, your Canadian University. Because when you sign in the CHL, you lose your NCAA eligibility. So the OHL still takes care of your school. It just comes after your junior career. So when I was done in junior, I utilized my school package. I went to York University, which is close by, if you know where Richmond Hill and York University are. And I went there and, continued to develop as a player, got, a minor pro contract out of it. But like I said, my wife and I started our family early. And one thing I can say, being a coach now for 9 years at the U Sport level, Canadian University, it's a great league. where players continue to develop, and we develop pros as well. And it's another unknown entity, especially to people in the USA. But for instance, we played Ohio State in 2018, the year I think they went to the Frozen Four, and we beat them in their building, right? So it just gives you kind of a vision of what our league looks like. We have players that were drafted to the NHL that were unsigned, but want to do their school before continuing their professional aspirations. It's always nice to do that with a degree in your back pocket. So Canadian University is awesome, and hopefully we can have it get a little bit more coverage. It's starting to get there, but it's a great product, and if you have an opportunity to ever watch a game, you should.
And Nathaniel, I'm right with you with college hockey as a rule. I love the development path, not just in hockey, but it develops young men academically, educationally, and just helps them, reach their goals. So going from there, I think it also helps you with what you're doing here, the skill development. You get more time one-on-one with the player at university than maybe you do potentially at junior. So take us from your path from the college hockey to where you are today. How does it get from that to now you're with the Coyotes?
Well, I think when I came in last year into the internship program, I think everyone was really impressed with how I communicate with the players and how I'm able to build relationships with the players. And if we're going to talk about development as a whole, skill development is one thing. Obviously, that's something that we work on every day with our players, but also, building that relationship and that trust level with them, being a guy that, didn't make it, and, drawing from my experiences and talking to our players about the other things that they need to do to become everyday NHLers. I think my coaching, at the university level, the guys start when they're 20, 21. So I've been coaching men for all this time. So it's very relatable, and players that, came from the same level that our Arizona Coyotes prospects are coming from. So it's really, not that different with the type of player that we're dealing with, especially the age. The only difference is, we're dealing with the Logan Cooleys of the world that went third overall to the NHL, and not many people can do that. So I think what I did at the university level is very relatable. And, I'm somebody who has been a skill development coach for all this time, but I've also been a bench coach. So I have both perspectives, and I'm able to, help players greatly.
And that brings up a good point. I think that's the evolution of hockey now too, is you've got that one-on-one time that I think has been lacking. I think you actually get that better when you're younger. In the NHL, it's like, well, give them a head coach and they'll be fine. That one-on-one time is just absolutely invaluable. Can you tell us what this last week has been with some of the prospects that were just most recently drafted, and how that one-on-one relationship is starting to build?
Well, that's what development camp's all about. It's for them to get to know the staff, get to know the organization, obviously get pushed very hard during the week, which they were. But this week was a great starting point with the new players in the organization. They got to know myself and the other coaches who are here to help them, reach their ultimate goal. And I think that's what it's all about. And this week was our first step to building that trust. And I look forward to the season and working with all these individuals.
Nathaniel, you obviously have to work within a team structure, within what the coaching staff wants, what the development staff wants. But maybe what are some of your own philosophies and things that you'd like to bring to this role? How do you see it taking shape under your tutelage?
Well, for sure, with the coaching staffs and the development staff, we all need to mesh our thoughts together and make sure that we're working towards the same goal. But I'm somebody that believes, if you put in, the work that's necessary, and you're a good teammate and you have a good attitude, you're going to go places. I think the biggest thing, for these prospects is understanding that they need to be positive contributors, to this organization, to be, that everyday NHLer. In terms of skill development, it's a bit of a broad question because there's so many different areas and different philosophies within it. But Coach Bear, and the AHL staff, what they believe in, is right in line with what I believe in. So I think that, we'll be able to work really well together.
Diversity has obviously been a topic of much discussion in the NHL over the last few seasons. And I'm not going to ask you to speak for for all minorities looking to crack the coaching ranks. But from your own experiences, what sort of opportunities do you see those opportunities increasing? Are you seeing any roadblocks? What's the league doing well? What could it do better?
Well, I think you're definitely seeing more opportunities. I mean, I'm here sitting here with you guys. I think that, as the years go on, you're having more minority players, play the game at a high level at the youth level, right? More players at the junior level, more players at the NHL level. I think what you're going to see is that natural progression, into seeing more minority coaches, more minority GMs, more minority front office staff. You're seeing it with Mike Greer. I mean, he was a hell of an NHL player. He's someone that, I can remember watching. I was like 6 or 7 years old, really young. Hopefully Anson doesn't get mad at me for saying this, because I've known him for a long time. But I remember being a little kid and I had a videotape, and you pop it in, and it was the year that Mike Greer and Anson Carter were both going for the Hobie Baker, and Anson was at Michigan State, Mike Greer was at BU, and it followed them all season. And that was a huge inspiration for me, and I think now, with more of us involved in the game, I think it's just a natural progression. I think the league's doing everything they can, to have less roadblocks, for a lack of better words. But I think it's going in the right direction. I love the way the NHL is going with it. And hopefully, I can be an inspiration to the young guys like Anson and Mike Greer were to me watching those videos. Kevin Weeks is also somebody, that took me under his wing and, taught me a lot. And I now realize, as an adult, what he was trying to teach me about being a pro every day. And, that's what I'm bringing to this job as well.
That's awesome. We talked off the top. Oh, sorry, PD.
No.
We talked off the top that you're back in Toronto right now. Are you going to be in Toronto full time? Are you going to be in Arizona? What's kind of the day-to-day of this job going to look like for you?
So I am going to be, stationed here in Toronto with my family, and I will be traveling out to visit our prospects, to work with them, to check in with their coaches, making sure, that everything's going well on their development curve. I'll also spend time in Arizona and Tucson. Early days, we just got out of development camp. I think everyone's taken maybe a couple days off before we figure out exactly what the fall looks like. But that's where I come in. We have all these draft picks and all these prospects all over the world. And I'm somebody that's going to go and travel around and make sure that everything's going well.
So that brings up the next question, which is fantastic. We talked about that one-on-one connection with these kids and starting it right from their very first day as a Coyote. And you've already had your hands on them, so that's fantastic. So can you give us a little insight? We've talked a lot about Logan Cooley and what his skill set is. Can you give us a peek behind the curtain on what we can expect from Logan Cooley in the days and years to come?
You can expect a lot of excitement. He's a new world player, I like to say. He's a player that does things that, myself and I'm sure other guys from my generation could never even fathom even trying. He's that type of player.
Wow.
He's a great kid, and I don't want to speak too much on his plan. He's going to University of Minnesota, but I think he's got a really, really bright future. He's a good kid. And I'm excited to be a part of his development. I think it's going to be awesome. And I think Arizona fans should be very excited about Logan Cooley because he's going to be real good.
Are you coming back for main training camp? Will you be present for all of those?
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yeah. So rookie camp and, all the camps and stuff, you can expect to see me there for those. And, looking forward to meeting you guys in person.
Nathaniel, you get one mulligan on that, by the way. After that, you have to put $1 in the jar every time you say Phoenix. So just let
Fair enough.
By the way, when you do your travel schedule, try to do Arizona like January, February, and try to stay away from northern Manitoba and Minnesota. Just a tip.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. I just have one more for you. Obviously, we've talked a bit about your path. We're being at Ryerson, now being a skill development coach. What are your personal long-term goals? Do you see yourself becoming an NHL head coach one day? What are your goals?
That's the goal. I've always been one to, strive for the highest. And It's something that I've always, pictured myself doing, and this is my foot in the door, but, I make no assumption. This is my opportunity to prove myself, right? One step at a time. I'm here to do the job that the organization needs me to do. And, I've done that for years and things have happened for me. So I'm excited for the future. I don't know what the future brings, but for now, to be a part of this organization, I'm so grateful and I can't wait to be a positive contributor.
All right, Nathaniel, we can't thank you enough for taking some time out of your day to join us on the show. Well, obviously, we'd love to have you back again. Love to meet you in person at some point. Sorry, I wasn't here for development camp. I won't tell people what I was doing. I was having fun in New England. So,
on vacation.
Great stuff. Great insight. Really, really looking forward to talking to you more, but best of luck in this role. And hopefully you get to enjoy some downtime now.
Yeah. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Enjoy
Take
the
care.
nice Toronto weather. I miss it so much.
I will.
Okay.
Take care.
Thank you. All right. Thank you again to Nathaniel Brooks, Arizona Coyote skill development coach, for joining us. Some really great insight. I was really curious about what the role is and how he got there. It was such a cool, path for him, unique, a little bit different. So lots of great insight, and also just excited to see his future career path unfold.
Yeah. And Petey, we were talking about this with him, but I think a lot of people might not know how that role takes shape. And I don't know if anyone's surprised that he's going to be based in Toronto, but that's kind of how it goes, because you want to be able to get to the prospects. He's going to be bouncing around a lot to do, as you talked about, that one-on-one work. He may be based in Toronto, but he's going to be traveling a lot. And again, it's about meeting with the prospects one-on-one, whether that's on the ice, having a bite to eat, or sometimes of course it'll be over video. They'll do a lot of video work as well.
Yeah, I think it's, it starts as a development role job. That's what it is. You get these guys started at the right path, right when you get them in your organization, and you want to make sure they're getting the same message from the same person. So it's going to involve a lot of travel, but you will see him, like you said, he's going to be in Tucson, and he'll be in Arizona. One of the problems at the NHL level and trying to do this, well, why isn't he there every day? Well, the schedule in the NHL is so tight and so difficult to get practice time as it is, that when you do finally get a full day of practice, you have so many things to work on. And unfortunately, some of that one-on-one skill type work, there's no time. You've got to work on your power play first. You got your penalty kill first. The time you get that one-on-one skill development time is actually in the off season. That's where you're going to see much more of that time, where you get that one-on-one individual time. So I think I'm not surprised that he's going to be out of Toronto. I think that probably this is more of in the development world, but as you heard, he'll be all over it. I'm excited about him. He's a sharp guy, and I went and looked at some of his hockey playing career. Like I'm excited to have him as part of this whole rebuild. I think it's a great hire, and just see where this job and Nathaniel go in the future. I'm excited. Yeah, really exciting. PD, on Friday, you stepped in and did the DraftKings pick of the week because Sean was on vacation. Yeah, well, and how did you do, PD? Did you see how I did? You were 0 for 2 on your 2 picks. Wow. Okay, yeah. To be fair, but my second pick was I wasn't, but my first pick, I thought he got 6th. He got 6th. I picked him top 5. So he picked Justin Johnson to finish in the top 5 and Rory McIlroy to win. And you know what? You were kind of on the path, like early Saturday. It was looking good. Yeah, it was close. Yeah, but close in betting isn't a good thing. It's not good. So don't let me do it anymore. Yeah, well, it's okay. Pause. Sean's back. Get back to work. Sean's back from vacation. Get away from Buffalo and get back to work. Yeah, listen to me. You're sitting from Minnesota. By the way, we went here in Minnesota. We went to, I live on across the street from a lake, and there's a resort there with an outdoor bar that overlooks the lake, and there's people water skiing and playing in the water and so on. There's lakes in Minnesota? Yeah, there's a few. And the people I was with go, "Oh my goodness, it's really hot." It was hot because we were outside on the patio, and it's like 84. Like, really? Like, this is hot? And I was with my son and my wife, and we were just laughing like, "No, buddy, not hot." It's not hot. So I heard it's hot there, and I might postpone my return for a little bit because it's a
Yeah.
little too warm there.
It's
that's all right.
Yeah, it's pretty hot. Unlike your betting streak. Sorry to throw that in your
I
face.
know. That betting streak.
Sounds like a
My
segue to me,
DraftKings,
though,
my
so.
DraftKings sportsbook app pick of the week did not hit. It was close. Yeah, I
It
tried.
did not hit, but I did advise people to pick against you, so hopefully they
You did.
listened. And if you want to listen to Sean's picks rather than PD's, you can do so with the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Be sure to download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use the promo code PHNX, make your first deposit, and get a risk-free bet up to $1,000. That's promo code PHNX only at DraftKings Sportsbook. Minimum age and eligibility restrictions apply. See show notes for details. And we've been talking a lot about development. Nathaniel mentioned Tucson, and there's been a shakeup in Tucson because today it was announced that Tucson Roadrunners head coach Jay Varady has been hired by the Detroit Red Wings as an assistant coach. So he will not be returning to Tucson. Really exciting for him to get another NHL assistant opportunity. PD, I know you touched base with Jay this morning. Any thoughts on this?
You know, I'm not surprised. He's a guy that you knew was going to be back in the NHL at some point in his career. He's a guy that works hard. He is a hockey guy, and he just wants to coach. He can be fine in the USHL all the way to the NHL. He wants to teach players and kids. So for him to make it back to the NHL, I'm really happy for him. He's at an original 6 team that I think is ramping up. I think they're going to have they're on the path to winning. I told him to bring a jacket because it's going to be a little colder than Tucson. He's extremely excited and thanked everybody in this organization, had nothing but great things to say about both the Coyotes and the Roadrunners. It's always hard to leave something like that you've started to build, but he's very excited to get started in Detroit. And he did say he'd be glad to join the show in the next
he said he's going to miss us. Told me he's going to miss PHNX Coyote show.
He's been on our show more than any other guest.
Yeah,
he is the most reoccurring guest on our show of all time. So
a couple of thoughts on this. I'm sure that some people were wondering, well, why wasn't he promoted in Arizona? And yeah, that's a fair question. He did spend a year on Rick Tockett's bench. He was helping Corey Stillman run the PK. He was doing a lot of that one-on-one stuff that we talked about. I know he was like an analytics liaison as well. I think what often happens with NHL staffs, Petey, this, head coaches hire their own guys, right? So I know there's an assistant coaching opening with Phil Housley having left. That's probably what Andre's looking at. He's probably looking at hiring somebody with whom he has a relationship. You understand that. You like to give guys that sort of control. Having said that, I think Jay Varady is going to be a big asset to the Detroit Red Wings. I think Rick Tocchet even spoke on his behalf with Steve Yzerman, put in a good word for him. I'm glad to see him get this opportunity. As for what happens with Tucson, we'll have to wait and see. Of course, Steve Potvin coached the team that one season that Jay was up here with the Coyotes. Wouldn't be surprised if he got to reprise that role, but there's been no official announcement yet. So we'll just see how all of these, how these two positions play out.
Yeah, it's been interesting because both Steve Potvin and John Slaney have been there for a long time. Potsy took over the role as head coach when he's gone, like you mentioned. I will wait and see the path. I mean, Bill didn't necessarily have anything to do with his hands-on in the American League at that time. Maybe he puts a stamp on it, brings somebody of his own choosing in there. I don't know. I know the coaching staff there is well thought of here in Arizona. Both Potvin and Slaney have been for years. Time will tell, and we'll just wait and see what happens down there. It's going to be an important role, though, being the head coach of this Tucson Roadrunner team as it continues to go through the rebuild and these players are going through that program. It's going to be important that they have the right guy, and we'll wait and see if that is Steve Potvin.
Yeah, it's really exciting to see with some opportunities. And I touched on this on Friday when we talked about Nathaniel's hiring, but just to get, new coaches in and maybe a youth movement and more diverse coaches. So it's really exciting to see. And we'll see, I'm sure before the season starts, we'll have the Roadrunners head coach and the Coyotes assistant coach slots filled. So more to come on that. It's exciting. And then another piece of Coyotes news, because we still have Coyotes news for now. And then I'm sure as we get into August, it will just be crickets, perhaps. But, Lawson Crouse is going to salary arbitration.
Yeah.
Craig, can you kind of break down the situation and what's happening with Lawson Crouse?
Yeah, I wrote about it the other day. They do seem to be a little bit apart on dollar amounts. It's not unusual. I wouldn't get freaked out about it. It sounds like they both are looking at maybe a mid-length term deal of maybe 5 years, but there are, there's always a variance. The team usually sets a low offer, the agent usually sets a high offer, and then at some point they meet in the middle. Arbitration hearings are coming up. We should know a date on Lawson Crouse within the next day or two. But often, as you see with arbitration, the player doesn't get to arbitration. They are able to work out a deal before the hearing ever takes place. That's possible in this situation. We'll wait and see how it played out. I mean, Lawson Crouse had a breakout season last year. He was looking forward, as he told us many times, to the opportunity of getting more minutes, a greater role, and he really took advantage of it. He scored 20 goals in only 65 games. He had a career high in ice time. He did a lot of things well. And aside from that, Lawson Crouse is the person that he is. I mean, so well respected for his work ethic. He's more of a low key guy. He's not the bubbly guy like a Christian Fischer, who we love on the show as well. But he's really well respected, really well liked by his teammates. A lot of people look at him and say, "Here's a guy who could wear a letter at some point for this team." So we'll wait and see how this plays out. But I wouldn't be freaked out about the fact that it's gone to arbitration. This has happened before.
Yeah, and I think Lawson Crouse is going to end up an Arizona Coyote. I'm not concerned about that at all. The one thing that interests me about the arbitration process, and it's always struck me as difficult or funny or ironic, is you go into this hearing, and the team is going to try to say that Lawson Crouse is not as good as Lawson Crouse thinks he is in court. And Lawson's going to say that he's better than the team thinks he is, and they're going to argue about it. Now, that dynamic to me is so odd in the world of sports. And then when the judge comes back and they go, "Here's the deal," they're all both going to go, "Oh, great, we're so happy you're back." Yeah, you suck. Your numbers aren't as good as you think you are. You don't get, "Oh, welcome back. Can't wait to have you." I've always found that to be so strange.
Yep.
That you say, and I'm telling you, it can get vicious. "Oh, this number isn't right, and he doesn't produce this, and he can't do that," and it's vicious. And then all of a sudden, "Oh, but we really want you here." It's a really strange dynamic. I hope, for everyone's sake, it doesn't actually get to the arbitration hearing.
That's why you don't want it to get to that point. Yeah,
I hope they get it done before then. And I still, you've seen this, Craig. You've seen people right outside the arbitration hearing room get a deal done. Like it can go right up to the 11th hour and they can get a deal done. And there's still plenty of time to get something done before they walk in the doors of arbitration hearing. So let's hope that does, just because it's a really messy process. And let's hope that they can get a deal done. But regardless, I still believe Lawson Crouse will be a Coyote. And
just for just to remember the details, an arbitrator can only award a 1 or 2 year deal. And this is player elected salary arbitration. So I think if I remember this correctly, it's the team that can choose at that point, since the player elected salary arbitration. So if the Coyotes were to take a 2 year deal with Lawson Crouse, after that, he's a free agent. He's an unrestricted free agent. So that all plays into the negotiations here as well. Some people may look at the number too and say, well, based on comparables, 3.5 makes sense for Lawson. But when you're asking for 5 years, when you're taking up some years of unrestricted free agency, that number generally goes up because you're going to make more money on the open market. So you have to bump that number up. Maybe it's somewhere in the 4s when it's all said and done. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah, I don't want it to get to a place where Lawson Crouse becomes a UFA, because I really see him as a part of this team's future.
Kind of the whole family, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, he's
Butter, Claire.
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
And congrats to Lawson and Claire for their engagement.
Yeah, and congrats to Liam O'Brien on his wedding over the weekend in the Czech Republic. So lots of exciting things for Coyotes this summer. But yeah,
Coyotes couples.
But when you think of Lawson Crouse, you think of him as a part of this team's future. He's one of the players that's really committed to seeing the rebuild through. So I hope it gets to a point where he gets that, both the team and he get the deal that he wants, because I think fans also really love Lawson Crouse. So we want to see him in a Coyotes jersey for a long time. So hopefully everyone ends up happy. Could be a big summer for him, getting a new deal, engaged. We'll see. PD, do you know when you're coming back from Minnesota yet?
I do. I have a plan, but it's going to be
You're
a
just
bit.
not
going to
gonna
share
tell
it with
us?
us, buddy?
Probably not.
Okay.
No, I'll be back in Arizona 2 weeks from today.
Okay, well, that's a bummer for you because that means you're going to be missing
No,
our
Wednesday.
at 4
Wednesday.
Peaks. Next Wednesday, July 27th, all of the PHNX shows will be streaming live at 4 Peaks. We did this last month. It was such a blast. Met a ton of listeners, and we'll be doing it again. We do it the last Wednesday of every month. So July 27th, next Wednesday, we will be doing our show live at 4 Peaks Brewing Company, and I guess it'll just be me and Craig, but
It's gonna be a really tough day for me too.
What?
Really tough day for me.
Because you can't drink because
I cannot drink alcohol right now because the day after that show, you know where I'm going, Petey. I'm going under the knife, buddy.
Going on the IR. Is that LTIR? I don't know what that is.
We'll see.
Oh my God.
Depends on the procedure.
Well, it's okay. I'll drink enough for all three of us. How about that?
I feel so bad for Leah because she has to deal with you like this and can't drink. She can drink, so she'll be okay.
Maybe that's how to deal with it.
As soon as you go off into the IR, then I'll be back. Like, she doesn't get a break from us ever. Like, we should let her go away for a week.
I'm going away at the end of next month.
Are you?
Yeah.
I was just kidding. Don't go.
You're like,
That's
no.
when it's really going to fall apart.
I know. Oh, no. Greg and I? Oh, no.
Well, we hope you'll join us next week at 4 Peaks. I'm really excited. I'll drink everyone's favorite beer on behalf of our beat.
Mm-hmm. I'll drink water.
I'll take one for the team if I must drink 3 beers on a Wednesday.
Has it been voted on yet? Is the outcome determined what our favorite beer is?
Oh, like as a beat?
Yeah.
No, let's talk about that off air and we'll come back.
Yeah, we'll come back with that one.
Because we all have different beer tastes. But if you want to come, you don't have to be 21 to come. You don't have to be 21 to go to 4 Peaks restaurant. You do have to be 21 to drink and enjoy responsibly. Are there any final thoughts before we head out?
No, just I'm going to be sending you guys photos of me on my walker. That's going to amuse you.
I will say this, though. I did get a chance to see something Leah posted last night from Montreal.
Oh, yes.
That was a lot of fun. Is there more of that content available anywhere from the draft, Leah?
Well, any draft content you can find on our Twitter, our YouTube, and gophnx.com. Tons of written content. Craig had more. I mean, Craig always has stories. So if you want to read them, you got to become a member at gophnx.com. Join our members only Discord. We were talking about arbitration in there already. So tons of great conversation in the Discord, and becoming a member, you get members deals on merchandise. You can get a shirt from the locker when you sign up for an annual membership. You can try your first month just 50 cents if you want to just try it out. If you missed the video, if you were at the 4 Peaks draft party, there's tons of great footage. I wasn't at the 4 Peaks draft party, but I felt like I was there watching that video.
Yeah, that was cool to see actually in the video.
Great video.
I got a sense of what it was like.
Yeah, so if you missed seeing that video, check it out on Twitter at PHNX_Coyotes. Shout out to Jacob and Shane for their work on that one. It was really cool to see. And also Craig, you can see Craig literally kiss the sidewalk in Montreal.
When we finally arrived after our travel trials. You can also see what my future looks like when I'm sitting on a park bench with Jacob feeding pigeons.
I was dying on Twitter that everyone's saying it looked like a sitcom, like you and Jacob sitting on a bench. Oh man, anything coming out on the website you want to?
We'll see.
Promo? Okay.
We'll see. I'm having some conversations today. It's the off season. I can't promise anything yet, but
lots of great.
I want to write more on development. I'm curious where this path goes, and now it becomes, as we just talked about, it becomes more relevant because there's this sudden influx of prospects. So it becomes very important for the Coyotes. Not that it wasn't before, but there are a lot of key prospects in the system.
Well, now it's game time because, last year they just had to suck and that was it. And nobody had, but no one had any expectations. It's just, let's suck. We'll get to the draft. But now the first draft of the rebuild has happened. So now they really have to, put their resources into developing these prospects because that's how it's going to pay off in the future. So it's exciting. All right. Well, that's it for us today. We have a lot of great guests lined up this week. Catherine Silverman will be joining us on Wednesday to talk some goaltending, the goaltending carousel. And then we'll be joined on Thursday on our audio episode by Hart Levine is his name.
Runs Puckpedia.
Founder of Puckpedia. I use Puckpedia all the time. So excited to, find out a little bit more about that. We'll have another Trade Talk Tuesday episode tomorrow. And then Friday, you never know what to expect on Friday. It's going to be fun. I can tell you that.
You don't want to tell him? Petey's going to miss it.
That's true. Oh, sorry, PD. Yeah, you can tell him. Why don't you
Sorry,
tell him?
Petey. We're doing a burger taste test.
Oh,
Fast casual burger taste test that you're gonna miss. It's not we're not talking Burger King or McDonald's.
no, you're
or,
talking burgers. Like
you know,
burgers.
I know there are certain people that will eat that sort of trash, but you know,
Are you looking at Sean?
no,
Paz
no,
directly?
what, no.
I eat it and I'm proud. Well, I don't know. Proud's maybe not the right word, but I eat it and I'm not ashamed.
There's a big
No.
distinction between those two things. But no, we're looking at more fast casual burgers. So I'll bring in 5 choices, and you know, we'll let Sean taste them to see what he's been missing all these years.
It's not like I strictly eat McDonald's. I was just at Shake Shack last week. It's Shake Shack, Five Guys. Like, I appreciate a good burger. It's just sometimes it's midnight and I need food.
We can determine the best one. How about that? Petey, you're missing some fun.
No, I'm just trying to
in-person
figure out
tips.
how, because I would be driving. It's another one of those days I'm spending 8 hours in the car, and I'm just trying to figure out where I might be able to stop along the way and maybe join you. Unfortunately, on a freeway roadside burger joint probably isn't going to be a high-end spot, Craig. Just
Probably not.
probably not. But I could sit in the McDonald's parking lot and somewhere outside St. Cloud or Minneapolis. We'll see. I'm not
Well,
saying never. I can join for 5 minutes and have a burger in the parking lot.
I
Why
mean,
not?
you
Five Guys is a Midwestern brand, right?
I just
So
don't know
what?
if you're going to see many of them off the freeway, Craig. And I'm not taking a half hour off the freeway to get a Five Guys. Just saying.
But Petey, you did join us like outside of some porta potties at the playoffs, so it'd be
I
nothing
did.
new,
So it can't get
really.
worse. Yeah,
Well,
how
I
can it
mean,
get
well,
worse?
I'm not sensing your commitment level here. You know,
No, I know. I do it. I can see a good burger though. That now I'm excited about that. So
Oh
I'm
my
sorry I'm gonna miss it. I am sorry I'm gonna miss it. I
Well-
appreciate everybody there being patient with me and let me take some time here. It's been I really thank everybody. So
No
there's my 2
problem.
cents.
Well, I mean, we're here 5 days a week, no matter what. So be sure to subscribe to the PHNX Sports YouTube channel so you don't miss a show. We're live at 11 a.m. on Wednesday and Friday, audio episodes Tuesday and Thursday. Be sure to like and subscribe and leave us a review wherever you get your podcast, please. It's very helpful. And follow us on Twitter at PHNX_Coyotes. That's where it all goes down until next time. I was going to say tomorrow. Yeah, until tomorrow. We'll talk to everyone tomorrow. Enjoy the rest of your Monday and see you then.